first and foremost, syukur to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala for more or less allowing us to have this convocation after we missed for the last 2 years. Obviously, everybody very delighted and very happy. And convocation is always the big day for the graduate and also the parent, yeah, which shows an achievement after few years of struggling.
Definitely, everyone was very much excited because it's happening almost after 2 years. So everyone was excited. And moreover, especially for me and our Faculty of Traditional Complementary Medicine, it was a very big day.
When you talk about graduation, it is always about the family's contribution, the families coming together and acknowledging that it's a hard work for the parents as well as for the kids.
I feel happy, it's a belated convocation, but it's a celebration of something that I achieved in the past.
I feel very happy, proud and grateful as well for coming back to my campus and also for receiving this award today.
Do your best, do something that will make your heart satisfied and you will be great.
Trust yourself, accept the responsibilities you have made it, and work hard for it.
I really enjoyed my time here during the study period, and I've met with a lot of good lecturers, and it was truly a memorable event here.
We've been waiting for this day for about 4 years, I suppose. Finally made it, finally all good. Looking forward to the future and seeing what happens. But all in all, I'm grateful for the University of Cyberjaya.
I feel very happy because I can see my classmates and also my lecturers where I didn't see for the past few months. And I also very appreciate that I graduate so that my parents are proud for me.
Our hope for the future, the condition become much better and we can come back to normal activity of teaching and learning in this beloved university.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Majlis diteruskan lagi dengan menjemput Dr. Syarizah Ahmad Hisham untuk memberikan pengenalan kepada program Sarjana Muda Farmasi UOC dengan segala hormatnya. Dipersilakan.
Okay. Assalamualaikum dan selamat tengah hari, selamat pagi. Right. Okay. My talk will be in English, right? But because we also have online audience, but if anything that you are unclear of, you can always ask and I can always explain in Malay. Because sometimes bahasa Melayu lebih mudah, kan? Okay? Okay. Now, my name is Syarizah Ahmad Hisham. People call me Dr. Riza. Okay? Now, what I'm going to cover today is why you want to be a pharmacist. Okay? Do you know what a pharmacist is? Tahu? Wow, bagus. Okay? Now, macam mana boleh tahu pharmacist itu apa? Sebab vaksin. Kan? Betul? Right? Sometimes we feel that ada hikmahnya, pandemic ni, because now people know more about pharmacists. Who's pharmacist? Right? Okay. Now, what are pharmacists? So pharmacists adalah healthcare providers, healthcare professionals. Sama dengan doktor, sama dengan nurses, sama dengan physiotherapists, right? Dietitian, we are all healthcare providers. Obviously, we practice pharmacy, okay? But we are also known as drug experts. Kenapa? Kenapa drug experts? Okay, drug ini adalah ubat, In English, we call it drug or medicine. Generally, we use the term drug. But drug ni bukan yang cucuk-cucuk tu, Okay? Bukan yang sedut-sedut, bukan. Right? Drug here is medicine. Right? So why we are called drug experts? Because obviously we know the most about drugs. From discovering the drugs, right? So many pharmacists are actually involved from the birth of the drug, right? Of a new drug, to the usage, to the end, to the usage, sampailah kepada pengguna, pesakit, right? Daripada discovery, sampailah kepada pesakit. Okay, anybody know how long does it take for a new drug, from discovery to actually come to market? Roughly, agak-agak berapa lama? Years. So how many years do you think? 5 years? It's actually longer, 10 to 15 years, right? So this is the reason why, when the COVID vaccine came out, a lot of people say, not enough data. Because normal drugs usually take about 10 to 15 years from discovery, going through a lot of vigorous testing, clinical trials, then licensing, then only it can be prescribed by doctors and used, right? But for vaccine, people ask why? Why is it, just within a year of the COVID-19, we got a vaccine already, right? That's why a lot of, anti-vaccine use this opportunity to say that, don't use the vaccine, we don't have data. Actually, that's not true, because COVID-19 is not totally new. You've heard the term coronavirus, right? Coronavirus has been here for many, many years, for decades. Okay? So that's why the development of vaccine has been done from before, only that it was adjusted to suit to the COVID-19. But coronavirus family has been around for many, many years. Okay? So need to understand that. Now, first, because my title was top 5 reasons why you want to be a pharmacist, right? So the first reason is diverse career options. Okay, you know pharmacists, right? Do you know what pharmacists do? Apa? Pharmacist buat apa? Dispense ubat. Okay? Sell drugs. Okay. Now, let's have a look. The past few years, I'm sure you've heard issues about, pharmacists and doctors, contract pharmacists and doctors in Ministry of Health tak ada kerja, tak dapat kontrak, tak dapat permanent, tak dapat tetap. So nanti kita akan berlebihan doctors and pharmacists. Pernah dengar tak isu ni? It's untrue. It's untrue. Bukanlah pharmacy tak akan ada kerja selepas ni. No. Because those are only posting in government hospitals. Just a little bit of history, right? Okay. Let me show you this first. So where pharmacists can work? Banyak tempat. Hospital is just one of the arm. Okay? So we have hospitals, we have community pharmacists, we have primary care clinics, klinik kesihatan, right? We have enforcement and regulatory bodies. You know this by now, NPRA, right? So NPRA is a regulatory bodies. The director of NPRA is a pharmacist. Dr. Rose Hayati is a pharmacist. Nama dia Dr. Rose Hayati because dia ada PhD. They so panggil doctor, but she's not a medical doctor. She's a pharmacist. Okay? Right. Then we have research institute, for example, Agency Nuclear Malaysia. Right? Ada banyak lagi research institute, right? Then universities like myself, right? And pharmaceutical industries. I'm sure you've heard by now Pharmaniaga. Yes? You've heard Pfizer, right? You've heard AstraZeneca. So those are pharmaceutical companies. So we have international pharmaceutical companies, we have local pharmaceutical companies. And all these companies need pharmacists. I'll talk a bit more where you can work in that industry pharmacy, okay? Then we also have military pharmacy. We have our alumni in military, right? Military pharmacists. I'll show a photo of him later, right? And as I mentioned earlier, hospital. So when you say no more posts, pharmacist posts in hospital, in government hospital, it's only here. And it's only in government hospitals. Again, private hospitals, they still need a lot of pharmacists. Okay? So, diverse career option. Bukan saja di hospital. Jangan takut. Okay? Pharmacist masih ada kerja. Banyak kerja. Okay? Right. Now, remember just now I said pharmacists, we are drug experts, right? Tak adalah, we have thousands and thousands of drugs. Tak adalah saya tahu semua, right? Obviously, we have our specialization, you know, like doctors, they have specialization like cardiologists for heart, right? So we also, like myself, for example, previously when I was working in hospitals, I was a cardiology pharmacist, so heart. So I know a little bit more on medication relating to the heart as compared to, say, for example, oncology. Maybe I don't know much about oncology, but obviously we know the basics, but deeper information we may need to find, right? Tak adalah kata drug experts you tanya 1001 drug semua saya tahu tak, kan? But we know how to use the information, okay? So now, in terms of journey of the drug, just to show you where pharmacists can work, drug discovery. Contohnya, in university, we do a lot of research. You tahu buah delima? Yes? Right. For example, my colleagues in my faculty of pharmacy, previously we did research on buah delima. You know, buah delima have a lot of properties, antioxidant properties. So we do research whether we can actually turn buah delima to become a drug, maybe for heart disease or for cancer, you know, things like that. So these are done by pharmacists involved in research and development. So it can be at universities, it can be at research institution, it can also be at pharmaceutical industries, the company, right? So companies pay because this market for drugs worth millions or billions of dollars, kan, USD dollars, for example, right? So they need a lot of experts, okay? Then once we have identified the compound, for example, there's one compound that mungkin boleh jadi ubat jantung or ubat cancer, then those compound need to be formulated, kan? Whether it's suitable to be given as oral tablet, whether it needs to be given as injections, whether it can be given as patch. Kan sekarang senang pakai patch je, right? Or others. There's a tablet under the tongue, you know, dissolve under the tongue, something like that. Or syrups. So ini semua kerja pharmacist. We need to know how to formulate the drug to give the best drug release. So that's the work of pharmacists usually in the pharmaceutical industries. So by then, once we have the active compound, usually dah pergi ke the industries, right? Then we have clinical trials. So clinical trials ada banyak phase, ada banyak fasa, right? Mula-mula with healthy humans, right? Dan barulah dengan patients yang ada penyakit tu, right? So that's why the whole process takes years, 10 to 15 years typically. So again, all this need pharmacists to be involved, right? Then once, say for example, you have a lot of evidence, published papers, studies, clinical trials to show that, oh, the drug is good, can be used. You know, safety profile has been studied, efficacy profile has been studied. So boleh guna dan pergi pula untuk licensing of the drug. So again, pharmacists here, for example, NPRA, right, to look at all this data. And looking at this, you know, during COVID, orang kata, oh Malaysia ni lambatnya nak dapat vaksin, kenapa Singapura dah cepat? Because our NPRA really took the time, bukan time lenggang-lenggok, bukan, to really scrutinize all the data. Tengok betul ke data ni? Betul ke dia kata safe? Betul ke dia kata boleh bagi? So that's why we were a bit slow because kita teliti. Even company pun kata memang NPRA antara institusi yang sangat bagus dari segi, you know, ensuring that Malaysian get really good drugs, safe and effective drugs. Okay, right. Then once dah approved, obviously it goes back to the drug company, kena manufacture. So again, pharmacists will be here. You know, production pharmacists, macam mana nak formulate, macam mana produce, macam mana nak store, macam mana nak transport, right? Then it goes to the user, you know, prescribed by doctors and dispensed by pharmacists at the hospitals, at the clinics, right? And here, again, pharmacists play very important role because if we have good drugs, expensive drugs, but if they are not used correctly, then dia akan mendatangkan mudarat pada patient kita. Ataupun kalau dia tak guna dengan betul, tak dapat efek tu. Betul tak? So ini adalah fungsi pharmacist untuk ensure that our patient get the right drug, the right dose. We have this, kita panggil mantra for pharmacists, 5R. The right patient, the right drug, the right dose, the right strength, okay? The right administration, okay? Something like that, okay? Now, so you can see, then selepas ubat tu dah digunakan, bukannya kita dah, hore-hore, dah habis kerja. Tidak, right? We have this, what we call pharmacovigilance. Pharmacovigilance. Pharmacovigilance ni dia monitor. You pernah dengar AEFI for vaccine, right? Adverse effects. So we monitor these adverse effects. And bila kita dapat report, tak semesti kita ambil terus kan. Kita kena buat siasatan. Oh, betul ke dia ambil vaksin ni dia mati? Kan ke, oh bapa saudara dia kata, cousin kepada bapa dia kata, kan? Kena tengok. Kena investigate betul ke tak. Then only we come out with actual ADR reporting. So this is pharmacovigilance. So ada pharmacist di situ. Okay, under MedRec. Okay, so you can see pharmacist is from the beginning, from drug discovery to the end, to the user. So ada role pharmacist di situ. Okay, so pharmacist bukan saja dispense ubat itu salah satu fungsi. Okay, now we talk about pharmaceutical industries. So some students say, oh, tak naklah kerja dekat industri sebab kerja buat production, kerja kilang. So is it true you kerja kilang? No, right? So pharmacists in pharmaceutical industries alone ada banyak cabang-cabang dia, right? So you can have production pharmacists, this one looking at the formula, you know, how many ingredients you need to put, what are ingredients. Sebab kalau salah ingredients, then mungkin ubat tu tidak diserap dengan betul. Kan? Ubat tu masuk, keluar. Tak serap pun, tak pergi pun dekat target organs yang kita nak hantar dia. So drug delivery system is very important. You will learn this a lot during the course of program of pharmacy, right? How to deliver the drugs, say for example, to the heart, to the brain, you know, something like that, right? Then, obviously, product specialists, quality control, quality assurance, kena ensure that your production tu of quality. Bukannya first batch je quality, batch yang ke-1000 dah tak quality, tak boleh. So again, these are roles of pharmacists. Then obviously marketing, regulatory again, you know. Medical science liaison, usually they are the ones talking, you know, if you have any issues regarding to the drug, you nak tanya pasal ubat tu, then they will be the person, okay. And of course, R&D as I mentioned earlier. Okay, so first reason, banyak cabang pharmacy, right? Second reason is, as pharmacists, you can help to improve patient outcome. You can help save life. Bukan doctors je yang boleh save lives, Pharmacists pun boleh save lives. How? Let's have a look. Have you seen this before? Apa tu? Prescripsi, right? Lidah kering pula hari ni kan, okay? Prescripsi. Obviously, they come in different forms, but this is the standard one. You can get if you go to Ministry of Health prescription, hospital or clinic, you get something like this, right? Now, this is in multiverse, Kita ada Sadio Mane sebagai patient, 60 years old patient yang ada penyakit darah tinggi, HPT darah tinggi, AHD sakit jantung, heart failure pun sakit jantung lah, Okay. So 60-year-old Sadio Mane, this is a very standard. Kalau you know our population are aging, right? Kita lebih ramai orang tua sekarang compared to maybe 20-30 years ago, right? So ini adalah standard ubat untuk orang yang ada sakit jantung. Ni baru satu penyakit, belum lagi tambah kencing manis, sakit buah pinggang, right? Okay. So how many drugs there already? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So when a patient come to hospital, to clinic, see doctor, get this prescription, go to pharmacy. What do you expect the pharmacist to do? What can you expect the pharmacist to do? So dispense ubat. Kan? That's why a lot of people say, kenapa lambat sangat ni Nak dispense ubat pun susah ke? It's not just about taking the drugs from the shelf, put it in the envelope and pass to you. No, right? Why? Because we have to look through this prescription. Okay? Tengok dos betul ke tak? Okay? Tengok ada interaction tak between the drugs. Okay, for example, simvastatin ni untuk ubat kolesterol, it can interact with many other drugs. Okay, sebab dia berfungsi di liver ialah hati kan, dan diproses di hati, jadi dia boleh effect enzim di hati. Jadi any other drugs yang also go through that enzyme will also be affected. So it can lead to either toxicity or it can lead to the drug being not effective. So kena check setiap interaksi ubat Then can you understand this? Nocte apa? Tahu tak nocte apa? Malam, malam. Ni bahasa Latin Then OM, morning. Then BD, twice a day. So for a 60-year-old or 65 years old, 75 years old, ada 5-6 ubat. Satu kena ambil malam, satu kena ambil 2 kali sehari, satu kena ambil pagi. Okay, and there's reason for it. For example, ubat kolesterol simvastatin kena ambil malam because that's the best time it works. Bila you tidur, that's when your cholesterol get absorbed. Okay, so kena ambil malam. Ubat furosemide, for example, untuk buang excess air, so kena ambil pagi. Why? Because if you take it at night, the patient will be, having to get up at night to go to the toilet, kan? And it's not very good for elderly people. Old people, if they get up too many times at night, they may fall, for example. Okay? So we need to look. Then GTN, PRN, bila perlu sahaja. So before the drugs get to the patient, inside pharmacy, the pharmacist need to screen the prescription to see whether the doses are correct, any interactions or not, whether the patients are receiving the right drug, right? So kalau tak betul, we have to liaise with the doctors again, make suggestions, make recommendation, right? That's why sometimes it take a bit of time, okay? So why we do this? Because, so this process, we call it prescription screening, to ensure there is no medication errors, because we don't want the patient to go home with toxic dose or ineffective dose, and then they say, ubat ni tak jalan lah, tak bagus lah, so pergi cari bomoh, kan? Okay, sebenarnya salah dos, right? So these are the roles of pharmacist. Bukan sahaja ambil daripada counter, masuk envelope, pass. Bukan. Kena screen dulu, the drugs are correct. Okay? So, then, bila nak bagi dekat patient, remember there are 6 drugs just now, Dr. Mosalah kan, sangat efektif Dr. Mosalah ni bagi 6 drugs, right? Okay, in multiverse dia nak jadi doktor, dia tak nak jadi football player kan? Okay, right, so, bila dah nak bagi patient, if it's standard drugs, then mungkin senang lah Uncle, take this 1 tablet in the morning, this one in the afternoon, this one twice a day, But some drugs, you need to really teach. For example, here, inhalers. So patient need to know. Siapa ada asma di sini? Anybody? Ada? Ada? Shays? Siapa? Huh? Shake. Ada asma. Guna inhaler, right? So somebody need to teach you how to use the inhalers, correct? Terus simpan inhaler, Right, so somebody need to teach you how to use the inhaler, right? So that's the role of the pharmacist, okay? Right, so I'm sure you have seen somebody who needs to use insulin, right? And it's not easy, to teach somebody to inject maybe 3 times a day or twice a day or 4 times a day, to inject themselves at home. So a lot of education need to be given either to the patient or to the caregiver. Mungkin anak dia ke penjaga dia, right? So again, this is the role of pharmacist. This is my friend before from hospital, teaching this uncle and the daughter how to inject insulin, how to use the insulin pen correctly. Because if you inject insulin wrongly, what can occur? Apa boleh berlaku kalau salah cucuk insulin? the patient can go, if overdose too much, patient can go into coma, boleh mati. Right, because too much insulin, low sugar, hypo, right? Okay, if not enough, also you can get hyperglycemia, then you can get all the other complications, right? Sakit bawah pinggang, sakit jantung, heart attack for example, right? Okay, these are the roles of pharmacists. Patient education to improve compliance to medication. Compliance maknanya penggunaan ubat yang betul, right? Dan hari-hari. Tak adalah, pakcik ambil berapa kali sehari, entahlah bila ingat je. Kan? Sebablah pakcik selalu masuk hospital balik kan. So ini role pharmacist. So usually, before patient get discharged, you can see the pharmacist will go and see the patient to go and teach any particular medication yang perlu diajar. Okay? Again, why we do this? To improve compliance and to avoid administration error on the patient side. You know, because sometimes when you have 6 drugs, satu kena ambil pagi, satu kena ambil malam, satu kena ambil 2 kali, satu kena ambil 3 kali. Some patients, and this happened to my mother-in-law also, kan? Complicated lah, ambil je lah semua pagi. Kan? Tak boleh, cannot. So, we have to educate and explain. So, these are the roles of pharmacists. So, when you do this, can you save life? Right? So, dapat tak satisfaction? Job satisfaction knowing that you are saving somebody's life? Right. So you are improving somebody's outcome. Kan? Instead of the patient get complicated and die maybe, patient actually get better. You know, and sometimes, you know, when you work in hospitals for quite a while, you have, you know, uncles, aunties sometimes come and see, hari ni pakcik bawa buah lah, bagilah dekat pharmacist ni sebab tolong, terima kasih lah, tolong pakcik dulu kan, something like that. You know, you can see gratitudes lah, bukan kita mengharap, tapi sometimes patient, dia tahu, kan, dia berterima kasih, right? Okay. Now, as I mentioned earlier, clinical pharmacist, okay? Clinical pharmacist, do you know what's clinical pharmacist? Pernah dengar ke? Okay. In the 80s, maybe 90s, early 90s and below, in Malaysia, kalau pharmacist tu bekerja di hospital, usually they only work at the counter or at the pharmacy lah, you know, doing prescription screening and then counselling dispensing. But 2000 onwards, okay, and this has been done in Western countries much longer before, but 2000 onwards, Ministry of Health says this is the reason why 2004 or 2005, pharmacists need to do compulsory housemanship in government hospital before. Because at that time, we don't have enough pharmacists in our hospitals, so they make it compulsory for everybody to do housemanship in hospitals, right? So that we can actually develop these clinical pharmacy services. So now our clinical pharmacy services are established in most of our government hospitals. So we have, say for example, like myself, I said before, I was a cardiology pharmacist, or CCU, particularly CCU pharmacist, okay? And we have oncology pharmacists dealing with cancer drugs. We have infectious disease pharmacists dealing with infectious disease, you know? So clinical pharmacists, they work in the ward, together with the doctors, nurses, in the ward. They don't work at the counter. So sometimes you may not know, you may not see them because, you know, everybody looks the same. You know, when the doctors do ward rounds, right? You have like 4 or 5 people, and previously, before COVID, everybody will wear white coat, right? So one of the team is usually a pharmacist. So you have the specialist maybe, and maybe the MO or the HO. Then you have the nurses. Then one of the group is actually a pharmacist. So why the pharmacists are in the ward now? Because instead of doing corrective, membetulkan kesalahan, we can do preventative action. Maknanya awal lagi kita dah beritahu, oh, the dose should be prescribed like this. Right? And during the rounds, usually the doctors will decide on the treatment, right? So they can straight away ask the pharmacist. Okay, this patient, I want to start this antibiotic, for example, but the patient have a kidney problem. So what's the particular dose for that patient? Right, so the pharmacist can answer straight away during the ward round. Okay, you can see here, this is example photo of a ward round, real ward round. So that, the one in the lab coat is a pharmacist. Actually, there's another 2 doctors behind that curtain. They were too shy to be in the photo. So usually about 4 or 5 people doing the rounds, right? This is a specialist. The red shirt is a specialist. We have the nurse and the head nurse there, the pharmacist and 2 other doctors at the side. So usually the pharmacist will be in the ward rounds. Okay? Right. So, so usually our recent graduates, why they want to be maintained in hospital? Because they want to be this. Okay? So many of them, they're very interested to become clinical pharmacists because they feel that it's not easy. It's not easy. It's one of the toughest area because you have to know a lot on disease management. But many of them, they want to remain, instead of contract, they want to be permanent in hospital because they want to be clinical pharmacists. Okay? Right. Apart from that, so you have many options what you want to work in. You can save life. So the third reason is you become integral member of the community. Right. Say for example, pandemic. So pharmacist is one of the frontliners. Important member of the community. Betul tak? So here in UOC, we introduce community services right from the very beginning. You know, so our students every year will go out, choose a kampong, right? And they do community service like this. They do counseling, right? Talk about disease prevention. They do monitoring, check BP, check cholesterol, and advice, you know. So they are familiar. So by the time they go out, they know how to talk to people already. You know, tak adalah macam, alamak kan, panggil pakcik, awak-awak, tak boleh kan? We need to know how to address, how to communicate with people correctly, right? Okay? So, because whether you like it or not, you'll be part of the community. And this is very interesting. This was done in Ireland. You know where Ireland is? Next to England, right? So in Ireland, they do this survey every year. So this survey, they ask the population, who do you trust the most? So you can see here, local pharmacists is number 2. Number 1 is nurses. So nampak tak the importance of pharmacists in the community? Maknanya community trusts you. So for a community to trust you, what do you need to be? You need to be a competent and trustworthy pharmacist. Right? Actually in 2020 ke 2021, local pharmacists actually number 1. Nurses number 2. Now dah tukar, nurses pula naik atas. I have a feeling this got something to do with the vaccine lah, something like that, right? Okay? So, remember, if you want to contribute to the society, doesn't mean that you must, and save life, doesn't mean that you need to be a doctor, you can be a pharmacist. You know, please dismiss the idea that, oh, only people who are not good enough to be doctor become pharmacists. No. Our requirement is the same, exactly the same. Right? I was offered to do medicine before, but I chose to be a pharmacist. I've got my own reasons, you know, because when I was young, I have this allergic. Doctors keep giving me drugs that I'm allergic to, and I don't know what those drugs are. So that's why I became a pharmacist to know, and it's actually quite easy. Right? Okay? So, do not think that, oh, those who cannot be doctors only become pharmacists. No. The requirement is exactly the same. Right? You cannot say, oh, one is smarter than the other. No, we are a team. Right? We have to work together. Right? Okay. Next, career stability. Right. You know, now with the pandemic, we have increased inflation. Betul? Tahu? Tahu pasal inflation, right? Right? Banyak companies, you know, retrench their staff, right? But pharmacists, you know, but in general, healthcare providers, we have stable career. You know, you have high inflation. No, you don't buang pharmacists. You have pandemic. Yes, you need more pharmacists. We have economic crisis. People get sicker. A lot more people get sicker. You need pharmacists. Right. So, as a pharmacist, your career is stable. Okay? So, tak takut. Alamak, kan? Because some jobs macam tu, when you have economic crisis, you know, oh no, I'm going to lose my job soon. Betul? Tahu kan? Mungkin ada family members yang affected, for example. But as pharmacists, insyaAllah, our career is stable. Tak pernah dengar lagi lah bila ada economic crisis, pharmacist kena buang, tak ada. So far tak ada, Alhamdulillah. Okay. So, these are the traits of recession-proof jobs. You know why we have a stable career? Because we provide essential service, right? And we serve the universal needs, right? Lagi banyak masalah, economic crisis, more people get sick, right? More drugs are needed, then pharmacists will be needed, okay? Right, I put this number 5, but sometimes this may be one of your reason why you choose the career, right? So competitive salary. When this survey came out, a lot of people actually asked, betul lah pharmacist kaya, betul ke? Kan? Okay, this is a survey done by JobStreet a few years ago. This is for fresh graduates. Okay, so it says here pharmacy or pharmacist, fresh graduate pharmacy, actually top 10 best paying jobs. Okay, and it's sort of true because if you start as houseman, or we call it PRP, in hospital, your pay is about 3,840. Okay, in hospital. If you start in community, slightly lower, maybe about 5 to 6. But the moment you finish your housemanship, you go and become a FRP, fully registered pharmacist. Usually the salary in community pharmacies shoot up, right, to 5,000 to 6,000. I know one big chain pharmacy actually offer 6,500 to their fresh graduates, FRP, once you have finished your housemanship. So meaning that in the second year of working, you're already earning 5,000-6,000, right? So that's the reason why we are here lah, in this job street. In industry, similarly, in pharmaceutical industry, similarly, when you're doing your housemanship, the pay may be lower as compared to when you work in government hospitals, but again, it increased quite sharply after you become a registered pharmacist. Okay? Right. So, now ada yang nak jadi pharmacist tak? Yelah kan? Okay, so that's the 5 reasons. So keep that in mind. Why you want to be a pharmacist, right? So that is just an option. If you want to be in health, you want to be a healthcare providers, right? So now I'm just going to cover a little bit on our Bachelor of Pharmacy program in UOC, okay? Okay, anyway, even though salary, can be one of the factors, but as Steve Jobs says, the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. So by the end of the day, it doesn't matter what salary is, job satisfaction is very important, right? So for the other reasons just now, especially saving life, that should be your main reason why you want to be a pharmacist. Okay? All right. Any questions so far? Tak ada? Can I proceed to our program? Yes. Okay. I know some of you are hungry. I'm hungry too. Okay? Right. So Faculty of Pharmacy we were established in 2005 when we first established the university. Right? So the Bachelor of Pharmacy was the first 2 program. The first together with MBBS, right? So we started 2005. Now we are already in what 17th year, right? Still young compared to some other universities, right? But we are fully accredited. We get the full accreditation by the MQA and the Pharmacy Board in 2010 because usually you need 1 cohort to finish first, then only you get the full accreditation, right? And we still have the full accreditation, so no worries. So pharmacy in theory, pharmacy in the academic is quite small in Malaysia. We know each other. So even though we are private, but I can truly say that we are really at par with some of the good ones, right? I can say that we are actually as good as UKM, pharmacy program in UKM, in USM, those more established ones, and actually we are better as compared to some pharmacy program offered by IPTA. Sorry to say that, because we know this from the accreditation, because we got 5 years full, and some actually they don't get 5 years, right? So we can say that our program is established and updated, right? Before I go into Bachelor of Pharmacy, by the faculty, we also offer some other programs. Most of it is postgraduate, Masters in Clinical Pharmacy, Doctor of Pharmacy, PharmD, is also for Clinical Pharmacy, MSc in Pharmaceutical Science, PhD in Pharmaceutical Science, and our baby, right, Diploma in Cosmetics. Remember, cosmetics, if you want to be a pharmacist, you can join the Diploma in Cosmetics too, because cosmetics is a very big industry now in Malaysia, right? You kalau buka Instagram, buka Facebook, banyaknya produk, you can't even keep track, right? A lot of timbang kilo product, betul? Right? So the reason why we do this Diploma in Cosmetics, because we want to educate our Malaysian population to produce, especially entrepreneurs, Insta-famous, kan? Because kita ada, some of our students are Insta-famous actually. We want to train them to be responsible, knowledgeable, to produce appropriate cosmetic yang safe and effective. Bukannya produk timbang kilo. So we want our entrepreneurs, cosmetic entrepreneurs, to have the right knowledge, so that when they come up with the product are safe. Penting safe and effective. Okay, right? So that's the reason why we come up with this diploma in cosmetics, because a lot of it related to pharmacy, the formulation and things like that. Okay? Right, so back to the Bachelor of Pharmacy. Instead of just lectures and tutorials, we actually have a lot of different types of learning deliveries, and how we teach students. So we have PBL, problem-based learning, SCTL, hospital and clinical pharmacy simulation. We have simulation lab in our university. So before you go to hospital attachment, you have simulated cases first here to prepare you before you go to the hospital. So otherwise nanti pergi hospital, panik kan? Tengok patient berdarah-darah, pingsan. Ada pernah berlaku, right? So we prepare you first, right? Then we have computer-aided learning, we have blended learning. You get to go to industries, right? You have industrial training as well. Then OSPI and OSCE. Again, this is for the skills, not just writing skill. But OSPI, you know what's OSPI and OSCE? Pernah dengar tak? Okay, OSCE is Objective Structured Clinical Examination. For example, we give you scenario. Okay, I have a patient who need to be on insulin but refuse. So as a pharmacist, how do you deal with that patient? So that's OSCE, right? Simulated case, then we see how we assess your skills, right? Okay. Now, so what will you be learning during the 4-year? Bachelor of Pharmacy is a 4-year program, right? So what you'll be learning is, in the first year is basic medical sciences. You learn chemistry, you learn human anatomy, physiology, body, as what you learn in biology, but more deeper, right? You learn introduction to pharmacy, right? You get to go to community health exposure training. This is just go and visit, so that you know what other healthcare providers do. For example, some of our students get to visit tabung darah negara. They get to visit some labs, to see what other, our lab technician, what do? They visit physiotherapy centers to see, our physiotherapy partners, what do? To get to know different jobs of other healthcare providers, because when you're working later, you'll be working together, right? So it's good to know about them right from the very beginning. Okay. Then at the end of year 1, you already be going for the 2-week community pharmacy attachment. Right from year 1, we send you for attachment already, because we want you to get the exposure. So you can actually attach yourself, for example, because we have MOU with Caring Pharmacy. So it can be Caring Pharmacy, it can be Watson, it can be Alpro, for example. Just 2 weeks there to learn the activities in community pharmacy. Okay? Then in second year, you'll be introduced to more of our pharmaceutical, pharmacy-related courses. Right? You can see here, photo here. You learn how to make some preparation in sterile condition. You see here, our students are all gowned up, right? This is in our clean room. We call it clean room because most of the drugs need to be prepared sterilely, especially in the injections, right? So second year, you already go into labs like this. Gown up, know how to use, how to break the ampules, for example, how to withdraw drugs, something like that. Okay? Then you will also go, we have in UOC, you don't have this in many other universities, right? So in UOC, we have the Disaster Relief Medicine Center, DRMC. So our students for Bachelor of Pharmacy, we also have a course for DRM, Disaster Relief Medicine. And from the feedback from our students, they find this course very useful because a lot of our students, even during student time, even after when they graduate, they may be involved in disaster relief rescue, right? We have our students involved, say for example, in December last year, we had the big flood. So our students go help. Our students went to Ulu Langat, went to Dengkil, to help with the flood relief. Okay. Some of our students are also very active in mobile clinic for Rohingyan, right? In Ampang, in Selayang, every week we have our students going to the clinic to help out. We also have our graduates who are actively in that clinic as well, right? So these are very important, We have our lecturers. Previously when we have earthquake in Aceh, earthquake in mana tu? Dekat sebelah sana tu, manalah lupa dah nama kan. I remember, but we have lecturers going to Aceh. We have our lecturers going to Cox's Bazar, field hospital for the Rohingyan in Bangladesh, right? So we have our lecturers and students actively involved with disaster relief medicine. So this is something special about UOC because not many other universities have this, okay? And we also have Young Mercy and Watanya. This is just the university courses. We have more than that. I didn't put the rest, okay? Then in the third year, you start to practice the skills that you need to be a pharmacist. For example, you start to go for hospital pharmacy attachment, right? Attachment, how to dispense in hospital, how to dispense in primary care, klinik kesihatan, you go to klinik kesihatan for 1 week or 2 weeks. You go to hospitals for 2 weeks, to do the dispensing, inpatient, outpatient, sterile unit, drug information, you rotate, right? Then you will also be going for, during the holiday, you also be going for pharmaceutical industry training. Even though the minimum requirement is only 2 weeks, but most of our students, they go for 2 to 3 months. Okay, because they really want to absorb or learn as much as they can. So this is when they will go to companies like Pharmaniaga, Do Pharma, to do their industrial training or internship. Okay, some companies they even pay our students because they are there to really help out. Sometimes they are also given small projects to do. Okay, that's why they pay them. Okay. Then in year 3 also, our student will be doing research. Individual research. So every student is expected to do research. So it depends on your interest. If you like lab, drug discovery, drug development, lab work, then you will get to choose research-based lab. Or if you like clinical pharmacy, then maybe your research will be based in hospital. You may need to review medication chart, medication file, or interview patient, things like that. So it's individual research. And the research is actually for over a year. You start in second semester year 3, it will finish first semester year 4. So it's over a year, individual research. Okay? And obviously you'll be allocated supervisors. Okay? In year 4 will be completion of the research, and year 4 you'll learn more advanced pharmacy services. For example, you learn nuclear pharmacy, right? So you get to go to Agency Nuclear Malaysia. This is a photo of our students there, right? You learn about a little bit of military pharmacy. So our students get to go for attachment at Hospital Angkatan Tentera Tuanku Mizan in Wangsa Maju. So this is there in that hospital, right? And of course, you learn more on clinical pharmacy, on pharmacotherapeutics, how to treat diabetes, how to treat asthma, and you go to hospitals to do your attachment, right? So you'll be joining ward rounds. Even as students, you get to join ward rounds as well. Okay, so this is what happened. So year 1 basic, then slowly you learn the basic pharmacy courses, then come year 4 will be more advanced pharmacy courses. That's how our flow is. Right, niche area. What's niche area? What's the meaning niche? Niche is what is our specialty? Apa specialnya about pharmacy program in UOC, right? So as I mentioned earlier, we have DRM, and many universities have this, right? If you like outdoor, you like to save people, you like to be in the thick of things, right? To be involved in relief missions, then this is where you need to be lah. You get to learn DRM. Then nuclear pharmacy again. Not many universities offer nuclear pharmacy. We have our specialist nuclear pharmacy. Our deputy vice chancellor is actually a nuclear pharmacist. Previously in Agency Nuclear Malaysia, right? So you learn from experienced people, right? We also have halal pharmaceuticals. Halal pharmaceuticals is a big industry, right? Not just for the Muslims. Actually, our non-Muslim friends, non-Muslim markets, they also like to tap into halal pharmaceuticals. Why? Because then they get to market their products in like Middle Eastern, So halal pharmaceutical is very important. So we have our halal science center in UOC. So we do a lot of training for halal pharmaceuticals. So our students get to learn this as well. Okay? Clinical pharmacy, as I mentioned earlier, quite a number. We have quite a number of clinical pharmacists. Our experienced clinical pharmacists now join as academic. So we actually started the first Doctor of Pharmacy program for clinical pharmacy in Malaysia. We started that program because Singapore had it, Thailand had it, but we don't have any in Malaysia. So we took the initiative to start that. Then we also have Pharmaceutical Technology and Drug Delivery System Center. So again, we do a lot of research regarding to drug delivery. We get some research grants, right? We employ PhD, we take PhD master student to do research in this area, right? As I mentioned earlier, already full recognition by MQA and Pharmacy Board, no problem there. I think for the medic just now, there are questions whether you can work elsewhere with the degree. Yes, the answer is yes. We had our alumni, 3 of our alumni already working in the United Kingdom, no problem, right? So you can work elsewhere, but of course you have to get your license first, then only you can work in other countries, okay? We have highly experienced faculty members, many of us from the industry, from the hospital, from community pharmacy. So we teach based on practice, not just based on books, okay? Holistic and updated curriculum, again, we have many MOUs, right? So we get feedback from students, we get feedback from the industries, from stakeholders, so we update our curriculum regularly. We have done our curriculum review, so next year we'll start with a new integrated curriculum. Okay. Strong alumni network and industry linkage. This is very important because this is where we need to send our students, right? So you get to go to big companies, either Caring Pharmacy, Apro, Constant, Pharmaniaga, DoPharma, iCoop, all that for your either community pharmacy attachment or your industrial training attachment. Very important, okay? Okay, so career stability, right? Pharmacists would never go out of job, right? So you can see here, our employment rate is very high. 85.8% of our graduates secure a pharmacy-related job within 6 months. So you don't have 6 months is just because many of them still want to go into hospitals, government hospitals, right? So to go into government hospitals, obviously you need to wait a bit longer, right? They need to clear the previous batch first, then only they can take new batch, right? But if you start in community pharmacy, industrial pharmacy, usually you can start within 2 or 3 months of graduating. No problem, they usually take you fast, okay? And some of our students proceeded to do postgraduate study. Those who did not work, the 6.8%, sometimes because, they got married, they got pregnant, they don't want to work, It's not that they don't get the job, okay? Right. Okay, our students, you can ask anybody, our students are very active, right? Our student society, Cyberjaya University Pharmacy Student Society, is the first society being registered under the ROS, Registry of Society, properly registered, not just registered in UOC, but registered in the Malaysian ROS. Okay, why? Because we want our students to learn leadership in the right way. When you are joining a society, you really need to know how to run a society properly. Keep a proper audited record, how to write minutes of meeting correctly, how to run AGM correctly. These are very important. So that's the reason why we encourage our society, student society, to be registered. And Alhamdulillah, they were registered in 2018, I think. Okay? So you can see our students before COVID, right? They get to go to many countries. This one, they went to the US. This group went to the US. We have groups going to Indonesia, Thailand, Japan, right? Because we have partners there, our MOU partners in those countries, so our students get to go and visit and attach there. Say, for example, for infectious disease, some students get to go to do infectious disease attachment at Thailand, Chiang Mai Hospital. Okay. Then you can see we are active. Even though you've been to this campus, do you see any maybe basketball court? No. Do you see any swimming pool in this campus? Yes. Kat mana tu? Tak ada kan? Actually, in the campus we don't have sports facilities, but you can see our pharmacy student won the National Pharmacy Sports Carnival for 4 years in a row, from 2017 to 2020. Right? We even beat the students in IPTA. IPTA, they have so many sports facilities, right? UITM, UKM, they have a lot of sports facilities, but we managed to beat them. How? Because our students, we train them properly. We use the utilities that we have around us. We have our club, Cyberjaya Club community. We have our hostels there. They have some courts, right? So we train all over Cyberjaya, and for 4 years, we became champion, right? And 2001, it became esports. So other universities thought, oh, our student cannot win this because we can only win in, when for physical sports. But actually became second. PUBG, apa lagi korang selalu main? Mobile Legend or something like that, right? So we came second. So doesn't matter what sports, we can win. Okay, inshallah, right? Then apart from sports, our students are also active in academic kind of competition. For example, here, international competition, International Federation of Pharmacy Student, international all over the world. So you can see our student here, Sri Devi, won as the first place. Okay, so our students are very active, either academically or non-academically, right? Why? Because we want our student to be holistic. You know what's the meaning of holistic? Apa tu? Keseluruhan, kan? Jiwa dan raga, betul? Yeah, okay. Physically dan spiritually, right? So, mana-mana kita hantar our student, they can excel. And you can see here. This, our students, research, they won research award, they won sports award. And this particular student, our Faris Haikal was our UOC president of student council previously. He has graduated. He was also our sprint runner, won golds in many tournaments, 400 meters, 4 times 100. Also swimming. And because he took up swimming probably only in year 1. But by the time in year 3, year 4, he won multiple golds already. And he is also, now you can see the center photo here, he's also a part-time swimming instructor now. And he is also a hufaz. He is also imam of our Cyber 10 mosque before. Now he's back in Temerloh, he's working in Hospital Temerloh. But you can see, this is what I mean by holistic. You excel academically, you become leader, you're good in sports, and you do not lose your spiritual, right? Your your religion. Kan? So, can you all be like this? Yes, you can. Inshallah. But yes, you can. You must strive for the greatness, right? Okay? Okay, our alumni. We keep track, or we keep in touch very strongly with our alumni, right? So here we have Amir Ehsan as military pharmacist. This one, he was involved with the delivery of, the logistic of COVID-19 vaccine in the early days, So he even get to be on the ATM private jet, to go and send the COVID-19 vaccine, right? And this one is marine pharmacist. Shafiq was from our second batch. So Shafiq was employed by Jabatan Laut Malaysia. So he's the marine pharmacist for Jabatan Laut Malaysia. So he worked on ships, right? Every few months he will go up on the ships. I don't know where, right? But you can see pharmacist is everywhere, not just at the counter to dispense drugs, right? So here are our alumni. Our alumni really shine. I really love them, They are very active in university. They continue to be active after they leave the university. So you can see here, this is Najla, talking in Ashra Awani, I think about cosmetic or something, right? This is Aflin, talking with to BFM about drugs during Haji, right? During Hajj. This is Safwan, talking about drugs for mothers, right? And this is Sharon, working in Pharma in industry, right? For one event. This is Rasati, appearing on TV too. During COVID, they talk about COVID. I can't remember the actual talk about, but you see, our alumni are very active as well, right? And those who love businesses, they have also opened their own businesses. For example, Friska Pharmacy, I don't know whether you've seen any. They have 8 outlets now. They are open or established by 2 of our alumni, Wasim and Adib, right? 2 boys. They really love business. Wasim, just a story. Wasim, during the university time, he actually sell nasi lemak. At one time, he went viral, nasi lemak RM1. He even appeared in Harian Metro or something, nasi lemak RM1 Wasim. So, but now he has established his own pharmacy, chain of pharmacies. And one good thing about alumni is they don't forget UOC. When they open up their pharmacy, they employ their friends as well, their juniors, their seniors. So these 8 outlets of Friska Pharmacy all actually headed by UOC graduates. Okay, Pharmacy Midas also by our graduates. Pharmacy Aslam in Sabah. Aslam was our, I think, 4th, 5th batch. The best thing about Pharmacy Aslam is, Aslam was the first brother that joined us. After Aslam, his name is Aslam Akriyah. So Aslam was the first brother. He had another 4 sisters who also joined us. I really thank Mr. Akriyah, for trusting us, So Aslam was the first one. 4 sisters after Aslam also joined us. And the last sister now in final year. So, okay. So Pharmacy Aslam now has 8 outlets. They also employ, obviously, their sisters as well as other UOC graduates in Sabah. So what I'm trying to say is, apart from securing a job, you can also be job creator. you open up business, you employ people. So you create jobs for others as well. Betul? Okay? Right, I think that's all from me. Thank you very much. Any questions? Any questions? Ada soalan? Anything? Faham dah? Tak ada soalan langsung? Wow. Okay, siapa nak jadi pharmacist? Yes, you want to ask something? Tak ada. Tanyalah. Jangan malu-malu, nanti menyesal. Subjek, nak subjek apa? Obviously, to become pharmacist, just like to become doctor, you need to be a science student. So the requirement is 5B SPM. Maknanya mathematics, chemistry kena ada, chemistry kena B at least, right? Mathematics, biology, physics, admaths, tapi dia tak semestinya kena admaths kena B. I think it can be if your bio is B, as long as it's 5B, right? Termasuk English. Okay? But chemistry kena B. Chemistry is one requirement that you need. Must be lah. Then once you have your 5B in SPM, you join either matrix or foundation. Like if you join us, it's foundation. So from foundation to be able to join B-Pharm, our Bachelor of Pharmacy, you need to get CGPA of 3.0. Then you can join our B-Pharm program. Okay. For those SPM, say for example, yes, you get 4B or 4A, but 1C. Maybe chemistry C. What do you do? Okay. Previously, in the old days, we do ask our candidate to go and merayu dengan pharmacy board. But these days, because we have a lot of people with 9As, right? So nowadays, they don't actually allow to do that anymore. So what we tell our candidates is, go and receipt the paper. So you can receipt during July papers, right? So receipt the paper. Okay? Or you take STPM lah. If you take STPM, then you can join us through STPM. Okay? Any other questions? Tak ada? Tak ada? Thank you very much.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada Dr. Syairiza Ahmad Hisham di atas penerangan tersebut. Mungkin sedikit sebanyak dapat membantu pelajar untuk mempunyai minat di dalam